Namaste. Hi again. I'm Rajashree Maa, otherwise known as Joni Dietrich, PhD, and I'm the founder of Kali-Ki Reiki and the Wisdom School, and a devotee of Swami Sri Atmananda. What I want to talk to you about now is two of the major concepts or phrases that we use in Kali-Ki Reiki, and how I feel that they are phrases that we use that really describe some of the deepest yogic wisdom. So these two phrases, words, are limitless love and love force. So if you know ordinary Reiki, Usui Reiki at all, you will hear that Reiki works with the universal life force energy. And it's a beautiful way of understanding things. What is that universal life force energy? And in my yogic understanding, that is the energy of Brahman. It's the energy of the Absolute. It's the energy of pure, formless, absolute, imperishable awareness, consciousness. It's the Shakti of the Shiva. It is the love force. That's what I call it, because the Shakti, right? It's the energy, it's the force, it's the movement, it's the creative process, that which brings form out of formlessness. And so in Kali-Ki Reiki, we use more, I guess you would call them neutral terms, but for me it's very important. So I speak of limitless love as being the Brahman, the Absolute, that everything is love, God is love, the divine is love. And yet in this limitless, formless, absolute beingness of pure love, it is not love with an object. It's love without a second, like Brahma is everything without a second. And so it is just pure beingness. And I call that love. And then when there is that impulse within the pure stillness of coming into form, of coming into movement, of creation, when it's the Brahmananda, the bliss of Brahma that creates all the universes, the multiverses, all the dimensions, all the lokas, all the individuals, and all the kulas, the great groupings. That is the love force. And so we have limitless love, and I like to use that term partly because it is not a theological term. And limitless love is the ultimate. It is pure awareness, pure consciousness. And out of that arises the love force, the Shakti. The Divine Mother is that which moves the Shakti, which does the creation. And she does it on so many levels. So there's the universal level, where she is the creator of all time and space and matter, and the earths and the planets and the solar systems and the galaxies. And then there's the level of bringing individuals into form. And then there's the level within the individual of what is typically called the life force, and I call that the love force. That love force energy within the individual that ultimately is one and the same with the limitless love, with pure Brahman, that energy, that life force, I call love force, as I said, and that's the energy of Reiki. It's the energy of Kali-Ki Reiki. And so when we are activating, when we're invoking Divine Mother to come in and let us be an instrument of her love force, it's as if from the universal, it comes more into the personal, the individual, and then it's channeled through, and it awakens and activates and often magnifies that energy within the person that we're working with. And so it is the love force within us activating the love force within them. And that is how a healing comes about. And so in Kali-Ki Reiki, part of what we do as our meditative practice is we start with the love force, with the individual love force, with that which enlivens me within the prana of who I am. And then we move through the levels up into connecting with and being an instrument of Divine Mother. And then ideally, as we go deeper and deeper and deeper, we come into pure consciousness, pure being. And as I said before, this is also what can happen with the client that we're working with, that their state of consciousness expands as we're working with them. So we might be starting with like a physical pain. I mean, a chronic problem in the knee. And yet, as that love force energy within them expands and grows, so does their consciousness. Each system within their being, the physical, the vital, the mental, the psychic, all of it expands, and their soul self rejoices as some scars are released and they find a pure freedom of bliss, of being. And so what we find with this understanding is that as the Mahashakti puts her veils around the whole, the universal, and through her koshas, she brings in these layers of self, of psychic, of mental, of vital, emotional, and physical. That each one of these layers gets healed, and this healing happens from the inside out. So this is again something that is unique about Reiki. So for example, if I go to a medical doctor, I get a diagnosis and I get a treatment. Now that treatment may be some kind of chemical. It may actually be some kind of procedure, right? Something physically done to change how things are arranged within the system. It could be a surgery. And so the healing happens, if you will, from the outside in. It goes from the physical in, and it doesn't always go all the way in, right? So you may have a physical disease that's also giving you a kind of depression or a kind of lethargy. It's creating tamas within you. And that physical disease might go away, but it doesn't mean that the other systems have been touched. Rather, in Reiki, it's like it starts from the universal and it moves into the psychic, it moves into the mental, it moves into the vital emotional, and it moves into the physical. And this is why, actually, I love to share this. Many people think of Reiki as a hands-on practice, like you have to be physically with someone to do Reiki. But the truth is, Reiki works just as well and effectively at distance as it does in person. And why is that? Why is that? Exactly what I've been talking about. Because the love force is not a form. And so as that love force is activated, that healing happens from the inner layers and moves outward. And so it's almost like what you could consider a soul-to-soul connection with the person. And that's what allows them to feel the healing, even all the way out to the physical. But it goes through and it helps with the emotional, it helps with the psychic, it helps with the mental, all of it. It clears and clears and clears. And then when I'm working with someone in person and I need to place my hands on them, this too is very effective, and people love touch, no doubt. But the truth is, it has to go through these dense physical layers to awaken the inner formless layer, and which is not a layer, it's actually the whole, right? And then it has to penetrate back out. So actually, I often find when I work with people at distance, the healing doesn't take as long. It doesn't take as much time as it does when you have hands-on. And so these concepts of love force and limitless love, in many ways they sound like pretty words, and I know some people have questioned, well, Rajashree Maa, why do you change? You know, we're all happy with what we learned in traditional Reiki. We are all happy with universal life force energy. But it's because I offer people to just stop and experience what actually is happening in a Reiki healing. We talk about it as energy healing. We're not healing the energy exactly, we're healing through energy. The pure energy, the pure love force is always whole, always healed. And this is another thing that happens. People who have experienced multiple traumas and have deep psychological injuries as a result of it, Reiki can help their awareness come to that place within their soul that is always whole and undamaged and complete. And so people who have felt broken for years and years and years will often have the experience of coming home to themselves, coming home to their true nature. And for many people, this is actually a spiritual awakening. And so Kali-Ki Reiki, anyway, is another way of coming into spiritual awakening. And then beyond that, growing, expanding in one's awareness. And so this is why I called my book, May the Love Force Be With You. In truth, the love force is with us all the time. And all we need to do is invoke, offer, worship, be grateful. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.